Be me, John, a software engineer at a medium-sized tech firm. Company's been growing fast, but with that comes a lot of new initiatives and policies from our HR manager, Karen. She's always sending out company-wide emails about synergy and disruption and other buzzwords that make my eyes glaze over. But the thing that really gets my goat is the new wellness program she's been pushing. It's a bunch of mandatory meetings and workshops where we have to talk about our feelings and do trust falls. I'm an engineer, not a kindergarten teacher. Walking into the office, I see Karen standing by the coffee machine, sipping on a latte. She's got a smug look on her face, like she's just won some kind of bet. "Good morning, John," she says, way too loudly. "Morning, Karen," I reply, trying to sound neutral. "Isn't it a beautiful day today?" she asks, still grinning. Inner monologue, what is wrong with this woman? It's 8 a.m. on a Monday, the sun is barely up, and she's already this chipper. Yeah, I say, I guess so. Karen launches into some spiel about positive thinking and manifesting your goals. I tune her out, wondering how someone so clueless about human nature ended up in charge of HR. Later that day, I'm sitting at my desk, trying to meet a deadline, when Karen sends out an email to the whole company. Subject line, new policy, mandatory daily meditation sessions. Inner monologue, you have got to be kidding me. The email explains that we all have to take 15 minutes out of our day to meditate, and that it's for our own good. There's even a link to some guided meditation video that we're all supposed to watch. I look around the office, and everyone else seems just as baffled as I am. But then I see our CEO, Mike, walking towards Karen's office. He looks determined. Inner monologue, this could be interesting. Mike goes into Karen's office, and I can hear them talking through the door. It sounds like they're discussing something in hushed tones. Suddenly, Mike comes out of the office, looking serious. "Karen, can I see you for a minute?" he says. Karen gets up, looking confident, and follows Mike into his office. Inner monologue, what's going on? Is Karen finally getting the axe? Greater than 20 minutes later, Mike comes out of his office, looking stern. "Karen, it's time for you to take a walk," he says. Karen looks shocked, but tries to play it cool. "What's going on, Mike?" she asks, smiling. "You're going to start following all of the company policies you've been enforcing on everyone else," Mike says, his voice firm. Karen's smile falters. "What do you mean?" she asks, starting to look nervous. "I mean that you'll be attending every single one of those meditation sessions, and participating in every trust fall, and filling out every feelings questionnaire," Mike says. Karen's face goes white. Inner monologue, oh, this is going to be good. As I watched Karen's face turn pale, I couldn't help but think that this was the moment we'd all been waiting for, the moment when Karen, the self-proclaimed office wellness guru, would finally get a taste of her own medicine. I had to stifle a smile as Mike continued to lay down the law. "Let me make one thing clear, Karen," Mike said, his voice firm but controlled. "You've been riding roughshod over this office for months, forcing everyone to participate in your wellness initiatives and team-building exercises, without so much as a hint of flexibility or compromise. But it's time for you to put your money where your mouth is." Karen's eyes darted back and forth, as if searching for an escape route. I don't understand, Mike," she stammered. "I'm just trying to help everyone relax and reach their full potential." "Save it, Karen," Mike said, his expression unyielding. "We all know that your initiatives are just a thinly veiled attempt to assert your control over the rest of us. But I've got news for you, it's not going to work anymore. From now on, you'll be participating in every single one of those activities you've been forcing on everyone else. And I mean every single one." As Mike spoke, I could feel a sense of excitement building inside me. This was it, the moment when Karen would finally be held accountable for her actions. And as I glanced around the office, I could see that I wasn't the only one who felt that way. My co-workers were all watching the scene unfold with great interest, their faces filled with a mix of curiosity and schadenfreude. What about my role as office wellness guru? Karen asked, her voice trembling slightly. Oh, don't worry, Karen, Mike said, a small smile playing on his lips. You'll still be in charge of organizing all those activities. But now, you'll be participating in them too. And if you don't, there will be consequences. As Mike finished speaking, Karen's face went from pale to ghostly white. She looked like she was about to faint, and for a moment, I felt a pang of sympathy for her. But then I remembered all the times she'd forced us to participate in her ridiculous activities, all the times she'd lectured us on the importance of wellness and teamwork. And my sympathy disappeared. This was going to be fun. I leaned back in my chair, eager to see how Karen would react to her new role as participant, rather than dictator. And as I watched her stumble out of the office, looking like she was in shock, I couldn't help but think that this was just the beginning of a very interesting chapter in our office's history. Wow, I thought to myself, this is going to be good. I wonder how long it'll take Karen to crack under the pressure. I glanced over at my coworkers, who were all still watching the scene with great interest. We exchanged a few knowing glances, and I could tell that we were all thinking the same thing. This was just the beginning of a very entertaining ride. As Karen stumbled out of the office, I couldn't help but feel a sense of schadenfreude. I mean, who wouldn't want to see the person who had been breathing down their neck for months, forcing them to attend trust-building seminars and meditation sessions, finally get a taste of their own medicine? I leaned back in my chair and steepled my fingers, a sly grin spreading across my face. I guess this means we won't be having any more 6 a.m. yoga sessions, my coworker, Alex, whispered to me, a mischievous glint in his eye. I chuckled and shook my head. I don't think Karen will be leading any more of those anytime soon, I whispered back. Just then, our boss, Mr. Johnson, cleared his throat to get our attention. All right, everyone, let's get back to work. I'm sure Karen will, adjust to her new role quickly. I raised an eyebrow, skeptical. Adjust quickly? I didn't think so. Karen was going to struggle, and I was going to enjoy every minute of it. As the day went on, I found myself glancing at the clock, wondering when Karen would emerge from her new role as a participant. Would she try to take charge, or would she actually listen to others for a change? I couldn't wait to find out. At lunchtime, I walked into the break room, where I found Karen sitting alone at a table, staring blankly into space. She looked lost. I felt a pang of surprise. I hadn't expected her to look so vulnerable. Hey, Karen, I said, trying to sound casual. How's it going? She looked up at me, her eyes clouded. It's different, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I sat down across from her, intrigued. Different? I repeated. How so? Karen hesitated, then shook her head. I don't know. I just feel, out of control, I guess. I'm used to being in charge, and now I'm just like everyone else. I leaned back in my chair, watching her with interest. This was a side of Karen I had never seen before, uncertain, insecure. It was almost humanizing. Well, maybe this is an opportunity for you to learn from others, I suggested, trying to sound helpful. Karen looked at me, a hint of desperation in her eyes. Do you think I can do it? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I raised an eyebrow, taken aback by her question. Did she really think I would give her advice? But as I looked into her eyes, I saw something there that gave me pause. Maybe, just maybe, Karen was more than just a bossy, controlling manager. Maybe she was a person, with fears and doubts and insecurities. Yes, Karen, I said, trying to sound sincere. I think you can do it. But you have to be willing to listen, to take direction from others. Can you do that? Karen nodded, a determined look on her face. Yes, I can do that. I smiled, feeling a sense of curiosity. Maybe, just maybe, this new role would be good for Karen after all. And who knows, maybe it would even be good for the rest of us, too. As I walked out of the meeting room with Karen, I couldn't help but feel a sense of surprise at the unexpected turn of events. Just a few hours ago, I was dreading the thought of working with Karen in a new role, but now I was starting to see her in a different light. The desperation in her eyes, the hint of uncertainty in her voice, it was almost humanizing. "Hey, Karen, do you want to grab a cup of coffee with me?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "I think we could discuss some of the details of your new role and how you can, navigate it." Karen looked at me, a hint of surprise on her face. "You want to have coffee with me?" she asked, her voice laced with skepticism. I nodded, smiling. "Why not? I think it could be helpful. Plus, I'm curious to know more about what's going on in that head of yours," I said, trying to sound light-hearted. Karen raised an eyebrow, but a small smile played on her lips. "Okay, sure. But just coffee, no lecturing, deal?" I held up my hands in mock surrender. "I promise, no lecturing. I just want to get to know you better, Karen. You're not exactly the most approachable person, you know." Karen laughed, a deep, throaty sound that caught me off guard. "I guess I've earned that reputation, haven't I?" she said, her eyes sparkling with amusement. As we walked to the coffee machine, I couldn't help but think about how different Karen seemed now. The confident, assertive manager I was used to was still there, but there was a new layer to her, a layer of vulnerability and uncertainty that I found intriguing. "So, Karen, what's really going on?" I asked, as we sat down at a small table with our coffee. "You're not just worried about this new role, are you? There's something else going on, isn't there?" Karen looked at me, her eyes narrowing slightly as she weighed her options. For a moment, I thought she was going to brush me off, tell me it was none of my business. But then, something seemed to shift inside her, and she leaned in, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I can do this, okay? I've always been in control, always known what's going on. But this is different. I'm not sure if I'm ready to let go, to trust other people to do their jobs." I felt a surge of surprise at her words, but as I looked into her eyes, I saw the fear and uncertainty there, and my surprise turned to empathy. "You know, Karen, it's okay to not have all the answers," I said, trying to sound gentle. "And it's okay to ask for help. That's what we're here for, to support each other." Karen looked at me, her eyes searching, and for a moment, I thought I saw a glimmer of hope there. Maybe, just maybe, this new role would be the catalyst for change, not just for Karen, but for all of us. As we sat there, sipping our coffee, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement at the possibilities that lay ahead. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a journey that would change everything. As we sat there, the warm glow of the coffee shop enveloped us, and the gentle hum of conversation from other patrons created a soothing background noise. Karen's eyes, still searching, locked onto mine, and I could sense her inner turmoil. I leaned in a bit closer, my voice taking on a conspiratorial tone. "Karen, I know it's scary to let go of control. I've been there too. But sometimes, it's necessary to take a step back and trust that others will catch us. We've got a great team, and I truly believe that together, we can achieve something amazing." I paused, studying her reaction. "What's really holding you back? Is it the unknown, or is there something specific that's got you worried?" Karen's gaze drifted away, her eyes scanning the coffee shop as if searching for an escape or a distraction. Her voice, when she spoke, was barely above a whisper. "It's just, I've always been the one in charge. I've always known what to do, how to fix things. But this is different. It's like I'm being asked to navigate a completely new landscape, and I'm not sure I have the map." I nodded, my mind racing with understanding. I'd seen Karen in action, her confidence and competence inspiring. But now, as I looked at her, I saw a glimmer of vulnerability, a crack in the facade. It was both fascinating and humbling. I think that's what's so exciting about this new role, I said, trying to sound reassuring. We're all in this together. We're all navigating this new landscape, and we can support each other along the way. You don't have to have all the answers, Karen. You just have to be willing to ask the questions. As I spoke, I could see the tension in Karen's body begin to ease, her shoulders relaxing, her jaw unclenching. She took a deep breath, and when she spoke, her voice was a little stronger. You know, I never thought I'd say this, but I think I'm scared of failing. Of not being good enough. The words hung in the air, a fragile admission that seemed to shock her as much as it did me. I felt a surge of empathy, my heart going out to this strong, capable woman who was revealing a deeper, more vulnerable side. Karen, failure is not the end of the world, I said, my voice filled with conviction. In fact, it's often the beginning of something new, something better. And as for not being good enough, well, that's just not true. You are more than enough, just as you are. As I spoke, I could see the doubt in Karen's eyes begin to clear, replaced by a spark of determination. She looked at me, a small smile playing on her lips. Thanks, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Just talking to you makes me feel a little better. I smiled back, feeling a sense of connection, of understanding. Anytime, Karen. That's what friends are for. As we sat there, the coffee shop's warmth and noise enveloping us, I couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement, of anticipation. This was just the beginning of a journey, one that would take us both to new and unexpected places. And as we embarked on this journey, I knew that our friendship, our bond, would be the anchor that would hold us steady, no matter what lay ahead. As we sat in comfortable silence for a moment, I couldn't help but think about the journey that had brought Karen to this point. What had driven her to feel so lost and uncertain about her place in the world? I glanced over at her, noticing the way her eyes seemed to cloud over as she stared into her cup of coffee. I knew that look, that feeling of being adrift in a sea of self-doubt. Hey, Karen. I said, breaking the silence. Can I ask you something? She looked up, a hint of curiosity in her eyes. Sure, what is it? I hesitated for a moment, unsure of how to phrase my question. But something about Karen's openness, her willingness to listen and be heard, put me at ease. What's the one thing that you've always wanted to do, but have been too afraid to try? I asked, my voice low and encouraging. Karen's expression changed, a mixture of surprise and introspection crossing her face. She set her cup down, her eyes drifting off to the side as she considered my question. I've always wanted to start my own business, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I've always been passionate about photography, and I've even done some freelance work on the side. But the thought of taking the leap, of quitting my job and pursuing it full-time, it's terrifying. I nodded, understanding. I can see why, I said. It's a big risk, especially in today's economy. But what's the worst that could happen? Karen's eyes locked onto mine, a spark of defiance igniting within them. I could fail, she said, her voice firm. I could lose everything I've worked for, and end up with nothing. I smiled, a sense of inner excitement building within me. Or, I said, you could succeed. You could create something truly amazing, something that brings you joy and fulfillment. And even if you do fail, which is unlikely, you'll have learned so much from the experience. You'll have grown as a person, and you'll be stronger because of it. As I spoke, I could see the doubts in Karen's mind beginning to clear. She was starting to see the possibilities, to imagine a future where she was pursuing her passion, and living a life that was true to herself. And I knew, in that moment, that I wanted to be a part of that journey. I wanted to support her, to encourage her, and to help her navigate the twists and turns that lay ahead. You know, Karen, I said, a sense of excitement building within me. I think this is just the beginning of an amazing adventure. And I'm honored to be a part of it, to be your friend and confidant as you embark on this journey. Karen's face lit up with a warm smile, and she reached out, placing a hand on my arm. Thanks, she said, her voice filled with emotion. Just knowing that you're here for me, that you believe in me, it means everything.